You are with Strictly Beyond, and today we are here for another show about the differences and similarities between astrology and human design. We are with Kiril Goranov, and we will talk about the 4 elements and 4 components in astrology and human design. Hello, Kiril. What can we actually tell the viewers? We can see that in both systems we work with the number 4. Not only do we have 4 elements, but because the number 4 is a very important sacred number. The number 4 describes the 4 directions of the world, of the 4 seasons, and the fact of the 4 blood types. In other words, the number 4 is quite a significant concept. And we see this in both esoteric systems.
What I've noticed is that in Asia, the number 4 is not very well liked because it is associated with fixation. This is where the concept of a fixed cross comes from. We have a cross shape, a form of the number 4, with horizontal and vertical lines. The vertical is often associated with energy, active energy, and if we need to, add it to the elements. Of course, elements associated with active yang energy are often mentioned as masculine energy. I would say that it is more accurate to refer to it as active energy, while earth and air are more related to static energy. The yin energy, which is involved, is often referred to as feminine energy in essence. It's said that temperament is very accurately described, called elite, as indicated. In the dining room, there is a reversal of direction in the directions, because actually we look at the feedback from the point towards the sky, like when looking at a map or a globe, and we know that east is to the left. Envy is the channel, and the west is brought to light in the same way, with north being up on the map and the ocean below. In astrology, with the jacket turned upwards, while north is downwards. These are the 4 points in astrology. Honestly, these are the points on a clear day. Your descendant is also valued on day 15, because that's exactly where the sun rises. But in reality, it stands on the left side, yes. What is there on every astrological chart? And the ascendant is actually the beginning of the horoscope. Opposite it stands the descendant, where the sun sets, right? In translation, ascendants are scenarios that rise, and the descendant comes from a dozen days of setting, and then. Well, the most important general point, which is actually the highest point in the horoscope, is the medium coeli. The highest sky is averaged. And this is actually the southern part of the chart, at the very bottom. That's why we say they are reversed. This is a point in the darkness and new goals, the lowest point of the 4 cardinal signs and the 4 directions of the world, and actually, they are connected with the 4 elements. The east is fire, activity. The air is the west, where we have communication, but there is the sign of Libra. The uppermost part, which is the southern point. This is Capricorn, the Tropic of Capricorn, and then the Tropic of Cancer. I have goals which are connected with the water element of Cancer. Capricorn we take, and actually, these are the 4 directions. The 4 directions are very directly related to the beginning of the season. And when this is examined in human design, we have a 4, which is connected with 4 such decisions, which was a bit more about the 4 types.
Yes, actually the analogy is exactly the same. We work with 4 main signs in human design. Now, sometimes in human design, the 5th type, the manifesting generator, is often mentioned. It is actually under you, right? Because the foundation is 4 main types of entities. If I can look at human design through the same prism, for example, the Manifestor is an archetypal fire because it is associated with actions. It is connected with initiation. If I can look through the lens of winter for the projector, let's say it is also active at some level at its core because it symbolizes, and at its core is yang, energy. Even though on the surface the projector appears passive, while the manifestor is yang twice, it is twice active energy. It is the most active, actually in the design. The generator and reflector can also be said to be more static types at their core. That is, their first line is yin. that is a passive line, static energy. Generators and projectors, that is, manifestors and projectors, are fundamentally active young types, whereas the reflector and generator with one passive line can also be viewed as elements.
Mainly as elements, in my opinion. It's more accurate because here we also have another very interesting thing. The ascendant, this is the fire, and leaving the initiative for 3 years, we can associate it with the manifestor. There were about 8 to 10%, meaning out of 100 people, 8 to 10 are manifestors. Actually, they are connected with the initiative part. And then comes the largest percentage. Generators, which make up about 70%, include the most common generators and manifesting generators. There is one very interesting thing. This is fire and earth, right? To fix it after him and the earthly sign god, Taurus. In fact, we can set up the generator type.
It is actually the earth, because the generator is connected with work, and 100 filled with sexual energy, which we can see in Taurus, the archetype of Venus for love and pleasures. Love, yes. The next point is actually the descendant. That is the setting point, the air point. We can connect with the spotlight. I have, because it is in the air, actually the descendant symbolizes the consultant. That is to see others objectively and guide them. In fact, in the role of the spotlight in sponsorship, the consulting part, which is with Libra, is in order, and it is no coincidence that in this era, consulting, psychotherapy, and all types of therapy are strongly established, because this era is a spotlight. They have appeared in this era. Actually, before that, they did not exist as a practice, right? In this way, as in the fund now, I look like a medium, as Capricorn has actually said. Your calling is to give you what you are here to work on and do in the session to generate, right? Like ideas, like creativity and so on. And also with the lowest point.
He is the rarest type. These are the reflectors, yes?
Now the reflector is in the human design itself. He is very lunar. Lunar, the fourth tone, the lowest point in astrology. The whole is connected in the same way with the bow. And actually the lowest point symbolizes our subconscious, water. And in fact, the reflector is like a mirror, your world type.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think this was the type that should wait up to 28 days before making key decisions in their life. In a way, decisions can be dictated. From Plato, it is that they are dictated. Rather, it should be waited for more objectivity to make a full circle.
And to activate all the points within the chart, the portals must be passed through all the portals to make the most correct decision. The moon is the fastest celestial body. What is special about the reflector? The special thing is that it doesn't have a single defined colored center in human design. In June, we deal with 9 centers. For most people, in 98-99% of cases, these centers are defined or colored. Even if there are only 2 centers, something is always defined. The reflector is special and an exception because nothing is defined or colored for them. In other words, their life energy is fixed and dictated by the cycles of the moon every month.
They become dependent on and connected with people because in principle, we know that the moon is associated with people. And in this way, I think there is a very interesting connection in the very names of these profiles, how they originated, because if you look at the manifestor, it comes from manifesting, where a person unifies through something else. And actually, the definition of a manifestor in human design is when we have the so-called motor centers connected to the throat and a clear absence of a sacral view of this thing because it is connected in its own way. Manifesting is about initiating the one who carries the fire. To start a dream, to the reflector, who is the last. When you decide, it is connected with reflecting, reflects on the projector is connected with directing. The generator is connected with movement, right? So it strings them not to manufacture. It is not a battery for creation. to literally be the process of materialization?
Yes, and that's why there is this technique to manifest, which but in the final stage, it materializes in a non-physical plane to reflect in the same way. We didn't mention him. He is the archetypal archetype of water, because he, since nothing is colored in his chart, right, he is like a chameleon, since water is in a weekend. Wherever you place it in freedom, in whatever vessel you place it, it takes the shape of the vessel, but it doesn't lose, its essence. There is one big, and I can say, misconception or delusion about reflectors, that people think that they will be very changeable since they have nothing defined. It's like having 10 empty houses astrologically, right? And it creates the impression that a reflector is very changeable. In fact, it's not that changeable. At its core, it is actually quite stable. It is simply adaptable, and in that sense, it is very different.
Support, as far as I know, is like that for projectors.
Their aura itself is different, and unlike the classic type, for all types, the aura is different. For projectors, it is penetrating and invasive, meaning that, when they communicate with someone, their aura penetrates the other person. It absorbs the energy of the other person. Why do projectors do this? A projector needs to deeply understand the other person in order to guide them, to provide direction. Projectors are actually here to give direction to others and are much better at understanding others than any other type. Their role is to penetrate the core of the other person. That's why the role of a projector can sometimes be felt by people as intruding into their personal space. That's why the strategy for projectors is to wait for an invitation, meaning to see if people are actually ready to hear you and receive feedback, because if they don't want it and aren't ready, they might perceive your guidance as an intrusion into their personal space. That's why every type in human design has its own strategy to interact correctly with the external environment. Similarly, for the generator type, which is here to respond to life, meaning the earthly type, it is here to materialize things and to materialize the long-term connection between the fire and the earth, because the manifestor is also here to materialize, but it provides the spark. The fire is the spark, but the fire is not protected by permanence. It's like the starter in a car, it ignites the engine. But the earth generators are the engine itself, which starts to generate and generate and generate something that requires long-term work. And that's why people who are earthy types like Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo often find it hard to start things, but once they do, they actually have a free capacity for the long term.
Why, it's a complex matter. This is the only type of essence that has the capacity. As far as I know, the other three don't have the sacral energy to work with. Also, they should be able to amplify sexual energy there, but they don't possess it. On a daily basis, they don't have the energy for mythical rules with projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. There, it will be about 30% for them, with 3/10 and 20 yes.
Projectors are 8%, manifestors 2% are reflectors, and 30% is because they generate like this year. Manifestors are expected to slightly increase their percentage, by the way, but generally non-sacral types are around 30%. Most people have a defined center. I'm called a generator center, whether it's a pure generator or manifesting generators, meaning they carry this earthly archetype within themselves. For an earthly archetype, what is important? They cannot always initiate. That is, a generator needs to learn to respond to life. When they force things and chase after them, even if they achieve their goals, they often end up frustrated, the moment of exhaustion, when they feel like they can't go on anymore. They give up because the generator hasn't truly responded to that thing.
It actually came from the head, so for each type there is a strategy we will create. We might make a video about the different strategies for our types. Write in the comments. I plan to create such a topic. If reading, we will do it as soon as possible in the same scenario. If I have to synthesize them, it might be in one of 4 signs, like from water to Cancer. They hate this. Related to the sweet parliament, it needs a tenant, and the lion and the archer are also connected. And with Taurus, it is connected to the generator. Capricorn, the 9th as well, right? They are earthy and all earthy, and realistically speaking, the others should be the air signs, and Gemini is connected with the spotlight. How was it? There's no one to direct. If you're alone, you need to be two, you would say. That you're connected with the dualistic concept. Yes. And now the reflector is connected with the water energy. Is it the hand? In this way, these 4 can be remembered the fastest. See, the idea here is to examine them in a way that is as objective as possible, to make the connection between human design and astrology, because this connection is explained in very few places. And that's the goal of the Astrology Scope as a podcast, to really provide such topics. So if you have any topics that are interesting cliches, we will look into them. That was it from us for today. And if you wish, plan with like and gather. That was it from us even for future meetings.